Hi, I'm Jennifer. I am the founder and creator of Embe, and I'm just here to talk to you a little bit about your typical swaddle problems. I think as a new mom, I found swaddling really challenging. Just coming home, from the hospital and watching the nurses wrap my baby up in the swaddling cloths. And then trying to duplicate that at home was a real challenge. At the hospital, they make it seem so easy. The baby's brand new, just a few hours old, and honestly hardly moving. So wrapping that little newborn up is fairly easy. They don't squirm, they don't really fight you. They're not trying to get their arms out of the blanket or anything like that. And then you take this baby home, and it's a completely different experience. They're moving, they're squirming, they're getting stronger by the day, and nobody tells you that it's that much harder to keep them swaddled. So as a mother of 4, and in my previous life as an aerospace engineer, just the type of person that I was, I'm like a huge problem solver. I research everything to death. I'm the type of person that researched 20 different pacifiers just to finally pick that one $3.50 pacifier, right? But it took me hours of research to be able to come up with that solution. So, all of that kind of played an integral part of creating the Embe Swaddle. A comment that I hear a lot is that my baby doesn't like to be swaddled. And what I always ask back is, was your baby able to break out of the swaddle? And more often than not, the answer is always yes. Things to look for that are easily misinterpreted is that when your baby's able to break out of the swaddle, it doesn't necessarily mean that baby doesn't want to be swaddled. So that's one thing that I highly recommend that you are aware of. If your baby's able to break out of your swaddle, that actually means that you didn't create a secure enough, tight enough swaddle to hold them in and to properly swaddle them. Another feature that we have is the ability to be able to double swaddle your baby. So when I was thinking about a design and how baby can't break out of the swaddle, the only thing I thought of was, a zipper, because, right? How can baby break out of a zipper? So, but with other zipper swaddles, the issue that I always ran into was that the swaddle wasn't tight enough. So with our design, it's unique in the sense that it's a double swaddle. The first layer has a zipper, and then we have a second swaddle wing that wraps around so that you can adjust the tightness. And that actually helps us to be able to create a one-size swaddle as well. Because as you tighten the swaddle around, you can actually shrink the swaddle up, or as baby's growing, you can loosen the swaddle and allow them to grow into it. So I think the first thing that comes to mind when people think of like, oh, why do I need to have a legs in and out swaddle? Well, obviously the first thing is for temperature, right? So if it's hot outside, if you live in a hot climate, then of course the obvious is, well, let's swaddle them with the legs out. So that way they can dissipate heat off of their legs, because without that, they only have their head, and you only have so much surface space on your head. So kind of like at nighttime when you're hot, what do? You kick your leg out, because that's the only thing that's going to help you to cool down. And so leaving the legs out actually helps baby to cool down twice as fast. Another challenge that I faced when I was swaddling my babies was that 2 a.m. diaper change. I always was teetering between leaving them in a dirty diaper or actually unswaddling them and waking them up at night. So of course, one of our other features that we had to implement was the ability to be able to diaper change your baby without waking them up, without unswaddling them. So with ours, it's really great that you can just pull down on the leg pouch and the baby stays completely swaddled and tight. So that tightness allows them to continue to sleep and to not wake up, but yet you get full access to their diapers. So you can just sneak in there, do their diaper change, Velcro it back up, and they're still sound asleep. I think a lot of moms don't even realize that if you improperly swaddle your baby, you can actually create harm. A common thing that we love to educate moms on is actually this developmental hip dysplasia, where you're not supposed to swaddle baby's hips or legs straight or tight. And a lot of moms don't know that. They'll actually swaddle their baby all the way down, and that's from shoulder all the way down to toe, and you're not supposed to do that. In order for proper hip development, you actually have to leave that part loose. So that's one of our features, and the reason why we have a heart-shaped pouch is to actually give room for proper hip development. So I think one of the scariest things that I witnessed as a parent was when I was sleeping in the middle of the night and I woke up to sounds of grunting and like movement. And I looked over into my baby's bassinet and she was actually like completely engulfed inside of her swaddle. She had somehow wiggled down into her swaddle and the whole swaddle had risen above her face. And so she was actually starting to suffocate from the swaddle. So I like literally jumped out of bed screaming. And that's really why we have this key feature of our no-rise neckline, was from that experience that I had. So for our swaddle, that's why we have this t-shirt-like collar, and it's because, as you know, when you try to take your shirt off, you can't actually wiggle down into your t-shirt, right? You actually have to take the shirt and pull it off of your head. And so that allows the swaddle to stay in place, and it actually prevents baby from wiggling down into their swaddle and causing a suffocation hazard. One of my pet peeves was that I had to buy so many swaddle blankets for my babies. Not that I didn't need that many swaddles, but that I had to buy so many different sizes. It felt like they were always growing out of their swaddles every single month, and I had to buy a different size, like newborn, size small, size medium, size large, size extra large. I mean, it was just endless. So that's why I really set out to create a one-size swaddle blanket. So a really unique feature that we have is that we're actually able to lengthen or shrink up our swaddle to 3 different sizes. So instead of having to buy 3 sizes, you actually save money and only need to buy 1 swaddle and just adjust the different lengths for small, medium, and large. I think a lot of moms have experienced the same things that I have, just the struggles of swaddling and trying to get your baby to sleep safely and securely in their own crib or bassinet by themselves and not having to hold them all the time. Our Embe Swaddle really has set out to fix all of these problems and address all of those key features.